I love this question. How have you overcome performance anxiety or not? Okay, this is really interesting for me, this subject. When I was a child, I used to perform a lot, and I used to play really well when I was nervous. And then on one occasion when I was about 17, I had to, funnily enough, I was playing Bach. I think I was playing the G minor fugue, and I was playing in front of a lot of very important people. And for the very first time ever, I got bow shake. I was completely wrecked by my nerves, and the more I played, the worse it got, until the point came when I felt like I was holding a lump of wood in my hand instead of a bow, and I'd lost it. And it was a terrible, terrible shock to me, experiencing this. You know, it just came out of the blue. Something perhaps to do with my hormones as a 17-year-old, perhaps something to do with the feelings that it really did matter how well I played, and things like that. So it's very psychological, but possibly physical changes in my body as well. And I would have to say that for the next 10 years, I suffered from anxiety problems in performance. And after a long time, I developed strategies for improving my performance, and so now I can confidently say that, I can't confidently say, most of the time, the vast majority of the time, I play better in performance than I do when I'm at home playing to myself. So I've been able to re-identify that feeling, what I had when I was a younger child. Okay, what I've actually written this down. I've got 4 stages of thought. I've written down it involves 4 stages of thought, but I've actually got 5 written down here. But the first process I go through is that I calculate the likelihood of me making a mistake at any given point in a piece. So some pieces have a really tricky bit, and I think, what percentage of the time can I expect to play this perfectly? And what it means is I come up with a percentage of times when I actually might play it wrong. You know, there might be a sudden leap on the violin or a very difficult bit, and just sometimes I won't play it correctly. So I calculate that throughout a piece that I'm performing. I recognise, therefore, that the likelihood of a mistake is there. There is a possibility that I'll make a mistake. And so when I actually, point 3, when I accept that a mistake can occur, when it does occur, I accept it as being, I've just made a mistake. It could have happened. That was 5% likely that I was going to make a mistake there. And so I immediately can forget during performance that I've made a mistake. And therefore you don't have this spiral effect where you're thinking about the mistake you shouldn't have made, and therefore making another mistake because you're thinking about the wrong thing, and then it all falling to bits and terrible things like that. My 4th point, the most important point though, is that I do not focus on treating the anxiety itself when it's happening. So if my bow bounces, I don't think, don't bow bounce. You know, as soon as you start thinking not to prevent the symptoms of the anxiety, the symptoms get worse. Okay, so instead I focus on what I want to hear. I focus into the music of my desired, I focus into my desired musical outcome rather than on the thing that I don't like hearing. So my mind is focused, it's constantly focusing on what I want to actively hear, and I get into that point in my mind, and that is what I want to hear, and I completely ignore anything else. Now my point 5, out of my 4 stages of thought. Oh yes, it's important to acknowledge that familiarization is an important confidence boost. So if you go out on stage and it's the first time you perform something, you got to give yourself a break. You know, you're not going to play it as brilliantly as if you'd played it a dozen times. okay? And similarly, you're not going to go out and perform in Carnegie Hall when you've only ever played in your living room before. You know, you're not going to perform your best. You have to progressively work your way up through perform in progressively more difficult venues, difficult circumstances, and you need to run a program lots of times to get yourself familiar, you know, with the quirks of performance and the particular pieces that you're playing. So that was my other key point.